The world of early humans was not one of safety or comfort. It was a world dripping with danger, every breath borrowed, every heartbeat fragile. For them, life was short, brutal, and unforgiving. The average lifespan, barely 12 years. Childhood was not a season of innocence. It was the edge of survival, a ticking clock that often stopped before the teenage years began. Picture the scene. A small child crouching near a fire, ribs pressing through skin, eyes darting at the sound of movement in the dark. And at 10, their body already carried scars of hunts gone wrong, infections that never healed, and hunger that gnawed endlessly. There was no promise of growth, no guarantee of seeing adulthood. At 12, most lives were already over. But why? Why was death at 12 so common, so relentless, that it defined human existence for millennia? Early humans were not the masters of their environment. They were prey. Saber-toothed cats crouched in the grass, ready to spring. Hyenas larger and fiercer than any we know today circled camps at night. Crocodiles lurked silently in rivers where tribes came to drink. Children, small, vulnerable, unarmed, were easy prey. The scream of a child carried into the night was often swallowed by the roar of beasts, leaving nothing but silence and the terror of the survivors. The land itself was a predator's kingdom, and humans were at the bottom of the chain. Predators killed quickly, but disease killed slowly and inescapably. A scratch from a thorn, a cut from a stone tool, tiny wounds that we barely notice today could fester into lethal infections. Bacteria and parasites spread mercilessly. Malaria swarmed through swamps, dysentery spread from unclean water, and fevers burned through fragile bodies. Children with weak immune systems collapsed quickly, and without medicines or even the knowledge of germs, their parents could only watch. Death crept quietly, and often entire families lost multiple children within weeks. Food was never guaranteed. Hunting was perilous and unpredictable. A failed hunt could mean days of starvation. Gathering roots and berries could not sustain entire groups. Winters were cruel, stripping the land bare. In famine, children ate last, if at all. Bones discovered in ancient sites show the signs. Tiny skeletons with stunted growth, rib cages carved by starvation, teeth showing signs of malnutrition. A weak child was not seen as the future of the tribe. They were a burden the tribe often could not afford to feed. The earth itself was no ally. Ice ages swept the land with freezing winds, killing the unprotected in hours. Droughts turned rivers into cracked earth, forcing desperate migrations where many perished along the way. Lightning struck primitive shelters, fires consumed forests, and floods swallowed entire camps. Children, too frail to endure such extremes, died in staggering numbers. For them, nature was not nurturing, it was executioner and judge. Unlike us, early humans did not enjoy long childhoods. Their bodies were forced to mature quickly. By age 6, children were expected to help forage or even join hunts. By 9, many carried burdens that today only adults would face. This pressure carved into their bodies. Bones show fractures in children not even 10 years old. Arthritis-like wear is visible in skeletons barely entering adolescence. Their bodies aged faster under relentless stress, burning out before they ever saw adulthood. 12 was not the beginning of life. It was often its end, but humanity did not vanish. Against impossible odds, a few survived. These were the resilient, the strong, the fortunate. They adapted to the horrors of their world. They learned to sharpen stones into weapons, to wield fire not just for warmth, but as protection. They formed groups, shared food, taught skills. Each survival came at the cost of countless deaths. Each discovery was bought with the lives of those who perished before the knowledge could be passed on. The survivors became the fragile thread pulling humanity forward through endless centuries. Archaeological evidence paints a chilling picture. In many early groups, almost half of all children died before reaching 12. Imagine a camp of 20 children. Within a few short years, 10 would be buried. This was not unusual. This was normal. Death was the rule. Survival was the rare exception. The graveyards of early humans tell stories of tiny skeletons, lives extinguished before they could learn to fight, to live, to dream. Those who survived past 12 faced new horrors. Adulthood did not promise peace. It meant dangerous hunts, brutal conflicts, and childbirth that often killed mothers. Women frequently died young, torn apart by labor. Men were crushed by wild beasts or by rival tribes. Every year beyond 12 was not security. It was survival stolen from death itself. And yet, in this endless storm of death, humanity's greatest weapon was born: intelligence. The very desperation of survival forced early humans to think differently, to plan, to innovate. Fire was tamed, tools were sharpened, strategies were passed from mouth to mouth, around flickering flames. The urgency of short lives drove progress. If humans had lived long, safe childhoods, there may have been no rush to evolve, but the constant shadow of death pushed them forward. Without the tragedy of so many short lives, we might never have become who we are today. The graves of children tell us the truth. Tiny skeletons with broken teeth from malnutrition, fragile bones twisted by disease, marks of injuries never healed. These remains are silent voices of children who never saw 13. Alongside them, stone tools and fire pits whisper of desperate parents fighting to keep their offspring alive, often failing. History remembers the survivors, but beneath it lies the silence of millions who never had the chance to tell their story. So why did so many die at 12? Because predators hunted them without mercy, because diseases consumed them unchecked, because hunger hollowed their bodies, because nature itself struck them down, and because their own biology forced them to grow too fast, burn out too soon. 12 became the finish line, not the starting point. And yet, humanity endured. Out of millions who perished, a few survived, and it was enough. Every breath you take today, every year you live beyond 12, is not only a privilege, it is their legacy. The reason we walk the earth as its dominant species is because of the pain, the suffering, and the resilience of those who came before us. They died young, but their deaths carved the path for us to live long. For them, 12 was the end. For us, it is only the beginning. And that transformation is humanity's ultimate triumph.